everyone, this is P4L. It's been a while, but we've had Chinese New Year, so things have been kind of slow, but how to start things off with a bang post-Chinese New Year, we have the newest masterpiece figure from Takara Tomy. This is their MP-43 Destron Leader Megatron. Obviously, this is their Beast Wars version of their Destron Megatron. I want to get started with packaging review as always. Nice big box, actually a very big box. Kind of in line with what we get with MP-10 and some of the bigger releases like their Masterpiece Megatron. When I'm tongue-tied here. I'm not gonna lie, I'm getting kind of tired of seeing this stupid lifelong design. We get it, you won award, you guys don't have to show it every single time. In any case, we see this big box, we see the big Beast Wars eye in the back, his robot mode and his alt mode, as well as some effects parts. Not much else going on in the packaging. Up here we get the photo. Along the sides, just the Megatron stuff. On the back we get a ton of pictures. We have a lot of space going on. So we have his battle poses in robot mode, his hunting rifle, laser buster is what he calls it, and his toothbrush. He does come with 3 sets of alternate faces, or 3 total faces, as well as a couple of shots of him being able to take off his armor and so forth. And then a lot of action poses. Lastly, we have a bunch of dynamo poses and some CGI renders to kind of show how accurate he is to the show model. Alright? So here we are with his actual clamshell out of the packaging. He is quite huge. He's stored in dyno mode. So let's go ahead and open that up. He is stored in the sense that they do have some pieces that fill in some gaps so he doesn't move around too much in his dyno mode. He has a couple of, or I guess 3, not a couple, translucent pieces, and these are figure stand attachments that go with the figure stand that we got with Dinobot. Unfortunately, we don't get a figure stand with this, which is kind of a bummer given how expensive this is. We do have his laser buster effect part. We have his hunting rifle, which I barely remember. As I said, he does have 2 additional faces. We'll take a look at those closely. And then lastly, it's like a hermetically sealed toothbrush. You know, just so you make sure that your toothbrush is minty fresh when it comes out of a new packaging. You want to make sure it's not old or used when you're using it to clean your dino teeth. So, what else do we get? Oh, sorry. In addition to that, we do have his instruction manual. And it's a really big fold out. I'm not even going to bother trying to fold it all out. But it goes into significant detail about all the different playability features you have. Lastly, we have his stat card. And you can see here, really quite nice. And he's basically all 10s except for the second one, which I have no idea what that is. So here we have Megatron in his beast mode, his Tyrannosaurus Rex mode. And it looks quite nice, aside from the fact that, and you'll see this a lot, that he's really panelly. We come to kind of expect this from kind of organic life forms, like in the Beast Wars, transferring from like an organic figure to a robot. But I feel like he's a little bit more panelly than I'd like. And my problem is that a lot of these panels aren't that secure and tend to just pop off at the slightest. Or things like this, where this tab doesn't want to stick in. I don't know if this is a problem with just mine, but it doesn't want to stick in here securely. So he ends up looking a little goofy. As far as articulation goes, let's start with that real quick. He does have little dino arms on pin joints that can also rotate around. He actually has a little T-Rex forearm bicep swivel, and that's about it. He has 2 little, I don't know, claws, talons, whatever you want to call it. His head probably has the most posability. He does break up the look here, but he doesn't have a neck swivel. You can swivel up and down and side to side, kind of on a axis, so it's not directly left and right as far as I can tell. It kind of looks, you can see it's kind of on a curve, an arc. One of the cool features is each of his eyes can be articulated, so you can look backwards or forwards or down, cross-eyed, wherever you want. You can do that. His mouth does open quite wide, and he actually has that little piece here that T-Rexes are known to have that, I don't even know what this is. It's kind of like an inside skin flap of gum. He can open his mouth quite wide. He does have a movable tongue, just like Dinobot did, so maybe they can make up in French kiss or something like that. Close that up. Oh, I do want to show you that inside here, there's a little Phillips head screw. I don't know if you can see it. Right there, you undo that, and then you pull this right side out, because it's kind of like tabbed in this way, and you can put in 2 LR44 batteries. You're going to need 4 total for this guy. And it shows you actually on the inside the orientation. And I believe it's flat side showing, I believe. Don't quote me on that, though. He does have a little hole back here. You can plug in his laser buster. Come on, there we go. So you can shoot out lasers in his Dino mode, just like he did in the show. Oh, I will say that this little blaster isn't like just a fully round piece too. It actually has a little groove cut out, and it's mostly hollow. So there's no like bubble or anything like that in it, like we've seen before. Oh, so once you get the battery secured in, you come in here and you have a little switch on the back. It's a little dip switch kind of thing. Left is off, right is on. And once you do that, you can press this, which is the most disappointing part about this figure for a couple of reasons. So he has a bunch of different sounds, but obviously it's in the Japanese dub version, and most of us are not going to be very familiar with that. It's probably going to be really disappointing that he doesn't have the classic yes kind of Megatron voice. And you know, I hope that a company comes out with a third-party company comes out with some sound chip that we can reinstall to get the US voice. But he does have a couple of different ones. Very anime. And you can tell they're very long. It keeps going. Okay, there we go. That's into that one. And I also thought there would be a little light here, or LED, that would light up this effect, which was disappointing. I was hoping for that. But as far as the rest of the articulation, the body itself, you don't really move this section here, the hips at all, aside from moving out and in. Mostly because it will start breaking up this tab. You can do it if you like kind of untab this section, but it's not really meant to articulate there. You're really supposed to use this lower knee joint here for most of your articulation, and then you have a little bit more at this like kind of like, I don't know, second knee. I don't even know what that's called. He does have an ankle tilt, another ratcheted tilt here. His foot, you're not really supposed to pull this out for Dino mode, but you can if you'd like. And then each of his individual toes are articulated quite a bit. And he stands pretty firm. You don't really need a stand for him if you'd like. And you can get kind of upright like Barney / Godzilla style, or you can get him in more of a traditional, like anatomically correct T-Rex mode where he's kind of like horizontal. Coming back to the tail. Oh, did I forget something? I feel like oh, he does actually have knee tilts to knee rockers up here. So that's really nice. You can get them out wide and still be able to pose them quite nicely. So articulation wise on his lower leg, it's really quite nice. His tail can rotate around. It's kind of ratcheted just because it's the arm. His tail here can waggle. Just be careful that this piece is all the way down, otherwise you're going to damage your figure here. But aside from that, not really much. You can lift this up, but again, you're going to break up the look. That said, overall, he's pretty clean, much more so than the Dinobot we got before, or Cheetor, and even to some degree the Optimus Primal. Let's see, is there any other articulation I'm missing? I think that's pretty much it. I will say he is pretty limited in what you can do, just because of the legs here. I do wish you could rotate here, but I do understand why they couldn't do it. So it's a give and take. The only other thing I will say about this mode is that while this guy is super expensive, you know, $300+, just like the rest of the Beast Wars masterpieces, this guy looks really fantastic. He has really nicely done paint and surface detail. Like you can see, all this is molded like hexagonal, like polygons here, and with the other paint that we've gotten before is kind of pixelated, to make it, to give it that kind of old school CG Beast Wars look. But yeah, the paint itself is quite well done. You got that orange strip going down here, all these kind of stripes. Yeah, the only real complaint is the lack of like this movement, and again, the fact that these panels kind of just don't always want to stay closed. So what else can we talk about? I mean, you can't really use the toothbrush without anything here, so we'll leave that. Oh, we'll do some comparisons real quick. So, he is quite large. The best comparisons I can do, obviously, are with other Beast Wars figures. So here he is with Dinobot. And you can see side by side, they're almost the same length if you count like nose to tail. Megatron is a little bit longer. It's kind of deceptive because I do have him kind of in the foreground, but you can see he is like about 2 inches longer. Who else do we have here? I went ahead and got out all my Beast Wars figures and took all the time to relearn how to transform them. You can see how small Optimus Primal is in comparison, and especially Cheetor. They're very tiny in comparison to Megatron. So he is an expensive figure at $300, but the size is quite nice. The only thing I think they really skimped on was not giving us another set of these panels here. Right? I think this would have been nice. So this is what you will use for this attachment. So this attachment is the only one that you really use in Dino mode. You go ahead and plug that in here. And what you do is kind of plug it into this kind of like crotch piece almost. You just slide it in. Oh, did I do it the wrong way? Sorry, I think I plugged it in the wrong way. Oh no! Is it this way? No, I had it the right way the whole time. Come on. So yeah, you plug it in to help you get some, you know, maybe action poses. Or like he's jumping, something like that. It's not all that useful, but especially in this mode. But the two others we're going to look at later once we're in robot mode. But yeah, that's really it for alt mode. Let's go ahead and do some transformation. Transformation on this guy isn't too difficult, but there are a couple things that you should be mindful of when you're doing it. I think one of the main complaints I have about transformation are, again, the panels. A lot of it feels like you might be stressing or snapping something through. I have read reports that people are damaging the figure, so just be very, very careful. All right, so first things first, we're going to come up to kind of this neck area here and untab here and here. Come down to the side, and I'd like to pull back right on these two sections. You want to get this big tab here undone. All right, push down on this little piece here to release it from that. Same thing on the other side if it doesn't do it already. And let's just get his arms kind of down like this. And I kind of like getting this done first. So you can fold this down. I'm going to do it again, as always, the way I think that makes the most sense. Fold this down, and we'll just fold this closed for now. Oh, and I forgot to open this up too. There's one last tab on the front here on each side that you're going to want to open up. And once that's done, here, get the dino legs down like that, so he's really vertical. And then you can pull down on this double hinge. All right. And then lastly, you can fold this in. So there is some more stuff we're going to do for now, but I want to make this as compact as possible as to not get in the way of the rest of the transformation. So let's do that again. Fold this down on this double hinge. Fold this up on this double hinge. Fold this closed. And then open it up. This last piece you fold down and inward. All right. So this is where we're at. Now we're going to go ahead and deal with the upper body. First, we'll go ahead and pull the head up. And there's a couple of tabs here you want to pull up until it locks into place. You'll hear it snap, but not too far, okay? So let's leave it like that. And then the next thing we'll do is actually we have to pull up on this waist joint. And I kept thinking that there might be a release button, but I haven't been able to find one, and maybe I just haven't watched a lot of reviews, so I don't really know. I just had to pull it up with a lot of force. And again, I was pulling up on that. That's probably a bad idea. Probably pull up on the main body. And I'm not sure. Like, I feel like maybe if I rotate it, I have a little bit more leverage. But whatever you do, just be very careful. There we go. You'll know you're done because you'll see a little bit of purple peeking out here. All right, so we can fold this in. And then, the one tip I'll give you on this section, because it's going to go into the backpack, it's a double hinge. So don't just fold in on one side. You have to fold in on both joints to get, sorry, it's all that squeaking, rubbing on the table. You want to make sure it's folded in like this. All right, so you can see this hinge when it closes up. And you're going to fold it down like that. Otherwise, you're going to have a hard time on this next part. So the next part is you're going to rotate back on the chest piece. And you'll see this going in. You want to have this pushed down. There's a rail system here. There's 2 rails on each side, 1 rail on each side. You're going to lift this up. You know, again, let's get this leg down to the waist so you can see it. And there's a little tab on the front here. You want to get this kind of in parallel. You're going to slide this all the way back. You'll know you got the job done and you folded this correctly by pushing. And you should just have to push very lightly. And these will snap into place. There's like little hooks here. So if you're trying to push, it's not working. It's not because you don't have something aligned. It's because this piece, again, is not properly folded in. Make sure you use that double hinge. Get it all the way in and down. And again, sorry for that squeaking noise. We'll try to get past it. And then push. See, it's very gentle. Don't force anything. You should not be forcing anything on this figure. All right, so while we're here, now we can go ahead and take care of this piece. These pieces can rotate down on a double hinge. And I kind of like having the dino legs up and kind of folded down like this so it holds it into place. So I'll show you the hinge on this side. This arm here, you want to fold this all the way down and get it in as close as possible. And once again, I kind of have the dino arm hold that flap down. It ends up being quite a substantial backpack, but it is what it is, and we'll look at it once we get fully into robot mode. All right, let's finish off with the upper body. Just flip this open. Flip this open. There's 2 tabs on each side. Make sure this tail is completely straight so that this slot aligns with this tab-looking piece. It doesn't actually tab, but you want to flip it all the way open on that double hinge so it looks like that. One piece of advice here, your fist is kind of stuck in here. It does have tight clearance, so what I recommend is closing this slightly like so, and then pulling on the arm, and then the fist will release. Then you can open it back up. On the back here, it's hard to see, there's another clip that goes into the double hinge that we just unlocked. So you want to push on that, and that will lock into place, and that's the proper orientation, and then you can go ahead and clean up the fist and arm as you'd like so. All right, other arm is much simpler. Basically have his bicep in 2 pieces. You just want to rotate it down and it'll line up and lock into place. That's it. And then you can arrange it as you want. Lastly, the 2 shoulders, for some reason, I guess for alignment purposes, they're off-centered. So what you need to do is actually push back on the shoulder piece. You'll see there's a little gap here. Push back on that. And you'll hear it close up that gap with a click. There we go. And that's it. All right, so the upper body is now done. Moving to the lower body, the first thing we'll do is his crotch actually needs to pull forward and become aligned with his, whatever, the chest, crotch plate. So you just want to push on this purple piece, or you can push back on the hips and have this all aligned. All right, coming to the back, we'll finish off the hip skirts by splitting open that kind of crotch piece, and that makes his butt flap. All right, let's go on with the legs. They're tabbed in, so you want to pull out on this slightly. They tab into the thighs. You want to pull it out a little bit more, and you're going to rotate it all the way around. And you'll see this tab will go into a, here, you can just pull this off. This is designed to come off. You'll see this tab will go into this vertical slot here. So when you have it like this, pull it out, rotate it around, and tab it into place. The one thing you want to do though is open up from the top like that, and you're going to flip this piece in. So there's a little slot here that you'll see. The reason why that's there is because it lines up with this this flappy piece, spring-loaded piece. So you're supposed to push this in, fold it up, and you'll see it holds that piece in place. Alternatively, I'll show on the other leg, you can actually flip it up and then push this piece later, but that kind of pushes this out. Lastly, you want to flip out his hip cannons and close it up, and those tab in right there. So same thing on the other side real quick. Let's do that before we get to the lower leg. Untab the hips. Come on, there we go. Rotate it around. Open up this flap, flip this around, flip this, and again you can either, I'll show you this time, close this up, then you can press this and you'll see it stick, right? See? It's stuck, and then you can go ahead and close that hip piece all the way. Make sure it's all the way tapped in. Alright, lastly, we're doing with the knee and below. Rotate 180 degrees, straighten out the legs. For this lower knee joint or shin joint, you want to push back, and then you want to push down on the ankle joint. Lastly, flip out the heels, and you're done. So basically, you're going to go from a curve to a straight leg. And with that, you have your MP Beast Wars Megatron in robot mode. And it looks quite nice. The robot mode, I think, is the cooler of the two modes, mostly because you actually have a lot of playability in this mode, as opposed to the Dino mode, which I think is pretty limited. There are a few things that I'll say about this, so let's go ahead and do a quick 360. It looks quite nice, but you can see all this. I think they could have done this paneling better, this backpack. And these are on a set of double hinges, and you can angle them in a variety of ways. It's really up to you how you want to display this, but as far as the thickness, there's not much you can do about it. Back here, it's all quite clean. Like the lower legs, no real complaints there. And he has a really nice looking silhouette. Let's go into, I guess, what should we go with first? Let's go to articulation first. So one thing that a lot of people miss is that while his here, I can actually just, well, I didn't mean to do that. You can take his head off, and you can see it's a ball socket. And while there is a ball socket here, there's actually more articulation. You can see there's actually a double hinge piece that could come up and around. So you get a lot more. So don't be fooled by it being kind of stuck in there. You can pull it up and out to give you a lot more articulation. Obviously, you don't want to pull it out too much, or it looks kind of goofy, but it gives you quite a bit of options as far as the head goes. But yeah, nice little bobble up and down. Even up here, he has a nice little crest of the Predacon symbol. So to replace the head or face, here, since we're up here, we'll just detour. You want to pull up to release the head, not out, okay? So you pull up, and you see it kind of sticks in on this post, and a little couple of tabs here. You'll see there's lights here, there's a battery compartment just like in the dynamo head. Just use the Phillips head screwdriver, undo that, and you'll see the LR44x2, and this time they show a picture of the flat side or positive side is facing left. But easy to swap out. Let's replace it with one of the faces since we're detouring. You can see he has his angry face and his little like yes face. I gotta find out if I can get a replacement, because my Predacon crest, at least on my angry one, is off to the side, so like a quarter of it's missing, which is disappointing. But we'll go ahead and plug this back in, and once you have the batteries installed, come on, isn't this going on? There we go. You push the little button on the back here, and just like MP Optimus Primal, his eyes light up, and they'll at some point after several seconds slowly fade off. So it's not an on-off switch, it's a fade to black look. All right, so that's enough about the head. We've talked about that enough. His shoulders, he has a couple of joints in his shoulders. There's one up here, but there's also a ratcheted one here. He also has a butterfly joint. And I do want to mention that some people have complained that the base shoulder joint can't hold up the arms. And that was very much true for mine as well. I had to go in and tighten that. So it does work sometimes, but it's not that tight. If you want to make use of that butterfly joint, you can get access to this screw and tighten it slightly. Be very careful not to over tighten or you're going to damage your figure. So just be careful. Putting that warning out now. Bicep swivel. It's just a friction on both sides. And then he has elbow joint on this side, a swivel on the head again, and then that kind of a neck left and right turn. On this side, he does have an elbow joint that's friction, as well as a wrist swivel and double swivel, I guess. But there's another joint that he has, because he kind of has gorilla arms, right, where you can only bend it this way. You can bend it that way, but you can also have an alternate elbow bend that's only for this arm, so you keep it sideways, but you have another elbow bend. This thing you can hinge around, you can untab it from that clip that we showed how to transform before. This thing opens and closes as you want. You can close this up if you want as well, however you want it posed. Fists, well, this fist, I guess, he has 2 joints on the thumb. And then his middle ring and pinky are all one molded piece that has 2 joints. And then the pointer finger is 2 separate joints and articulates by itself. All right. Coming to the waist, he does have waist swivel, and he has a ratcheted ab crunch. So he gets about 45 degrees. Nice addition of posability. Ratchets on the legs, going forward and back. Going out, it's mostly limited to the fact that this thing gets in the way. You can kind of move it, or if you get rid of it, you can see you can go all the way out. He does have a thigh swivel, as well as a knee swivel that we use for transformation, and then a knee joint. And the knee joint can go really deep because it has this self-collapsing kind of spring-loaded transforming part. So you can go quite far. We saw that kind of little joint at the shin. It's really not for this mode, but you can use it. Ankle again. The lower legs are all the same for the Dino mode, so nothing new or surprising there. And we already talked about the backpack, how you can kind of like flip that around and so forth, and angle it as you'd like. So yeah, pretty fun robot mode. This is the mode I definitely prefer of the two, just because again you can play with it a bit more. The Dino mode does have a lot of shelf presence though. All right, so let's see. You can go ahead and look at the other heads. I think we already did that, but take a look again. And his blaster, it only goes into his left hand, obviously. It has a kind of a tab system, but it's not really for securing it. It's really just for resting it in place. And you just go ahead and put that in. And you really need to use the fingers to secure it in place. Yeah, it's fine. It's just not that secure. I'm never going to use this thing. Same thing with his toothbrush. You kind of put it in with this tab-like piece, but again, it doesn't really tab. It just kind of holds itself in place, and then you can clean his teeth. Oops. All right. You get the idea. It was from like one scene. Similar to what we were saying before about that one scene, he can actually shed his armor and go kind of go naked, au naturel. So how to do that, as we saw before, you can untab that section and pull this off. You can come to the back here, and each wing piece slides up. I'm just gonna undo one side. And then for the blaster, or not blaster, his tail arm, you slide it back. You can see how it attaches there. Take that off. And the shoulder, you kind of want to pull it outwards and up. It's just frictioned on. You can see these kind of clips here. And that's it. So I'm not going to do the whole armor. You get the idea. It's the same thing on both sides. Kind of a weird reason to have it. It looks really funny without it. A couple of things I did notice though, like for this, some reason this elbow isn't painted. This is just bare plastic while it's painted on that side. I noticed that right away. Not really sure why, but they did it. And then putting it back on is just kind of the reverse. There's nothing really crazy about this process whatsoever. Again, sliding this on from the back side this time. Sliding this on from the top. Alright. Let's see, before we do comparisons, let's show the pieces again for the figure stand. We have two more to take care of. One is just for his butt plate. Right there. You can see this will just slide in. This is for kind of like jumping pose, I would imagine, but I guess you can do it for a standing pose. But it slides in from the bottom and secures into place. Does it? Good job holding into place. And again, I don't know why they didn't include this. It's kind of a bummer, and I don't think they've ever sold this separately, at least not yet. So if you wanted to use both, you don't really have that option. All right, for this one, you kind of do it a little bit differently. So you plug it in underneath like this. And what it's designed for is you to lift it up like that. And then you slide this in again. It's kind of hard to get to. Here, let me do it like this. So you slide it in, and then you also have these two ports that go into the ports on the side. So you have to make sure everything is kind of like straightened out. There we go. And the reason why he has this, is to almost damage your figure. But the reason he has this is because in one scene, I think Optimus like lifts him up over his head. So it's supposed to be something like this. I think he might have been in robot mode. But either way, it's supposed to be recreating that one scene. Again, I think that's a lot of effort for one scene that I don't know is that iconic. But again, they're trying to go for more playability with these figures. I would have preferred another stand. That way we could build a base or something like this, right? As it stands, we can't even get this to even try to build a base. So that's my biggest complaint there. All right, so give me 1 second. I'll do some comparisons in robot mode. Just because I have him, this is the, I think, Generation Toy? Oh no, G Creations? G Creation? Generation Toy. One of the Generation or G starting companies. And this is their stylized Optimus Primal. I like the scale a lot. You'll see that the other Beast Wars figures that are official line are in official scale, but they're quite small. So, Optimus Primal, looking very tiny. I guess we should put Dinobot in the middle here. So, we have a lineup, tall, medium, large. And then, I guess this guy, Cheetor, who's suddenly feeling super intimidated. So I hope you guys appreciate that I went ahead and took 30 minutes to transform these guys. But yeah, this is a stark contrast. I always find it kind of odd that there was such a big disparity. But some people like the fact that, you know, the Autobots were the underdogs and the Decepticons were just that more, or I guess in this case Predacons and Maximals were so different in size. Made them feel like underdogs, but I don't know. That's a little too underdoggy for me. Alright, so I think that's it for everything I wanted to show off and showcase. And as far as tips go for transformation this way, let's go ahead and get transformed back into Dino mode and then finish off the review. Alright, sounds good. Let's go with the lower body first. We'll do this basically exactly the opposite we did before. Close these up. rotate this forward so you can get that kind of curve. Rotate this around 180 degrees. And you're going to want to fold these in. So again, making use of this spring-loaded knee piece, you want to get them in basically 90 degrees like that. All right, let's go with the legs. Legs, you want to untab there. Also, you want to open up this panel. Opening this up, we'll flip this down, fold up the cannons, and you're going to want to rotate all the way around, and you'll see this tab will go into the lower tab section. Go like that. Close that up. So, same thing on this side. Open this panel, open this up, now spring load out. You can close this, and then rotate this down and tab it in. Come on. Oh, sorry, I forgot to close this up. There we go. All right. With that done, we'll go ahead and put the two halves of the butt flaps together. Reach in here, and we're gonna push on this little purple part. Oh, there's one thing I did want to mention that I didn't get to, I forgot to mention before. We all know of like the swirly gray plastic. Unfortunately, this has swirly purple plastic in a bunch of places, like here, the crotch, down here, and it seems to be pretty widespread from what I've seen. It's not as noticeable as the gray, but it's still kind of a bummer to see that. Anyway, just wanted to mention it just so you guys know. Or just to ruin your figure so that you guys will now not be able to unsee it. So going back to the crotch, just push down on that lower purple piece. That's a kind of a weird tongue twister, lower purple piece. Come on, ow, that hurt. All right, so then this will be all the way back. Then we can deal with basically the entire upper body. I typically want to deal with the arms first, but this kind of came undone, so we're just gonna go with it. Let's just go ahead and flip this out, open this piece all the way up, push the head all the way down, and then we're going to collapse that spine in like we did before, but the opposite. You just want to push it until it snaps, and not snaps, but clicks into place. There we go. All right, then we're going to bring this back, and you'll see these two tabs will go into the side here. Let's go ahead and just take care of that now. I like to rotate the legs down so you get a better look at it. Tab those in. We're good to go there. Let's go ahead and take care of the arms now that we're sort of out of the way of everything. As far as the arms go, here, let me take this off real quick. I like having the fist with the fingers down first and then the thumb curled around. All right. So once you have that positioned, you want to unclip that tail piece up here. Come on. There we go. And as before, it's set backwards. Because of the clearance issues, I suggest closing this one a little bit. Angle the fist kind of, or the wrist kind of backwards. And then you kind of want to slide it into place. There we go. Remember to keep this tail straight. To close this piece up. Tab this in and tab this in. And once again, like for me, I don't know why, but this one doesn't like to stay tabbed in. So it is what it is on my figure. Hopefully yours is a little bit better. Get that down. Remember on the shoulders, you have to pull it forward, right? To create that gap. So do it on the other side as well. There you go. From here, just pull back on the bicep with a dinosaur head attached, and then rock it back on itself so it's kind of like in a zigzag position. All right, so we're pretty much done. Now we're just gonna have to deal with these panels. So straighten these out. You wanna flip this one. So on this articulating arm, you just wanna bring it back up forward. So it lines up like so. Flip this out. You'll see it completes that side piece. Unflip this. Flip this open. Flip this open. And you can hear like these kind of weird snapping pieces. Like I said, the clearance and like the way it's molded makes them kind of rub and snap past each other. That makes me feel a little bit disconcerted, but I haven't found a way to really get around that. So you're going to want to close up on this hinge itself. So make sure that this half circle or semicircle is kind of sitting in place, and you just want to rotate up at that base hinge joint all the way up, and you can see how everything is going to start fitting into place. While we're here, let's go ahead and just tab this piece into place because it just makes it a little bit more stable. And then we'll go ahead and close this up. And then this will have a kind of a weird over-under situation. You can do this now. You might want to do it later because you're still going to have to deal with this side. So this side, same thing. You're going to want to expand it like this. Bring this up and over like so. Flip this piece down. Flip this down. Open this up. Open this up on those double hinges. And you have this side done. Flip it up at that base joint, all the way up. When you're getting close to here, you can go ahead and close this piece. Like so. And then up here, because there's a lot of tabs moving in place, really you want to focus on this clip here. So start with that, just kind of push it in, you'll hear it definitively close, and then the rest you just kind of like move into place. They more lightly kind of quote-unquote tab together. And this is the part where you're just kind of just messing around and hoping that everything kind of fits in. Rotate the leg up, get this over and under joint in. Come on, there we go. Dino arms forward. Oh, this came undone. There we go. And then lastly, yeah, see all these panels just kind of don't want to stay together often, and I can't figure out what I may be doing wrong. I just think it's just a lot of panel-y pieces, so you're kind of, what's going on? Oh, sorry, this piece should be down in the body like that. No! Okay, that was a short one. Alright, and then this one comes up like that, in underneath, and I think we're good. All this is kind of in place, that's in place. These are mostly closed up, this is mostly closed up. Alright, there we go. So, there we have Megatron back in his Dino mode. So, final thoughts. Let's talk about the big price tag first. So he's a big figure. He does come with a decent amount of stuff. I think if he came with another set of panels and stand, I think I'd be okay with the price. But at like, I think it's like $320 is what Toy Dojo has it for. I think some retailers actually have it for more. I think that's a big ask. To be fair, this is an imported figure, so I mean, if you look at the Japanese price, it is fairly reasonable, I would suppose. But I don't think we're going to get a US release of this one, or at least not anytime soon. So we are paying like $300 for this. Maybe cheaper if you imported it through some other places. But even still, I feel like I don't love this figure. There are just a lot of things that make it not a very fun figure, especially in this mode. But it looks great. It looks great in both modes. The transformation is okay. It's nothing too complicated. It's nothing too simple. It kind of hits that, I guess, middle ground. But to be honest, like if I had a choice again to buy this one again or not, I don't know that I would. I'd probably try to get it secondhand or cheaper. My first instinct when I was messing with it, honestly, was that I really didn't like it. I kind of grew to love it more as I played with it. And love is a strong word. I've come to like it a little bit more the more I play with it. But it's frustrating. Like, I mean, look at that. I just cut myself transforming it back for you guys. So, I mean, there are things that are lacking in this figure. But overall, it looks great in both modes, aside from the small backpack we have on robot mode. But it's really going to be up to you whether you think that's worth it or not. For me, even as a Beast Wars fan, I don't know this is worth like $300 plus. So it makes me a little bit worried about MP-44, if this is the kind of value that we think we're going to get from, you know, these $300 plus figures. I don't see that value being there for me. Hopefully MP-44 is a little bit different. In any case, I'm rambling on and on. That's really it for today, guys. If you liked the review and it helped you out, whether from making a decision or for helping you get it transformed, please give it a thumbs up, a share, subscribe, a comment. What are your thoughts on this guy? Do you have him? Do you love him? Are you kind of like me, kind of in the middle ground? Or do you absolutely hate him? If you haven't gotten him, what are your thoughts of him now that you got a better look at him? All right? So if you have any other questions, leave them in the comment section below and I'll get to them as soon as possible. But other than that, I hope you all have a good one.